Yo, what is going on, everyone? I have another review video today. It is going to be on my Vaxee Outset Fun Spark Edition. I've actually had almost nothing, but good experiences with this mouse. The only bad experience I will obviously get into later, but you can probably guess what it is. But in terms of shape, everything else, it's been a fantastic ergo mouse. There's only one mouse that can really rival it, and I'll do a small comparison later because I really feel like that mouse I'm going to be comparing it to is the main competitor. In terms of shape, it's actually incredibly interesting because you can see how aggressive the right tilt is, and I have heard a lot of people, they do adjust the grip to make it a little bit more tilted to the right. I don't really feel like that's necessary for me personally. I'm able to grip it how I would any other mouse, especially if it's a symmetrical mouse or a different ergo mouse. I can grip this mouse all the same, but my grip is kind of weird. Obviously, it's like a hybrid of like a fingertip and a claw grip, but that is all dependent on how you grip the mouse. A standard claw I feel like works perfectly fine on this mouse, especially pincer grip. I feel like that works really well with this mouse too. But the biggest thing is definitely the hump placement. It is pretty weird because this part of the mouse actually makes no contact with my hand. It's all just this general area on this little part that's just like from halfway up to the hump to the bottom of it, and I have a lot of mouse pad contact all in the bottom of my palm. If that does annoy you, then that is really unfortunate because you probably won't like this mouse, but I use that extra contact for extra stopping power. I don't use an arm sleeve anymore. I kind of just grind my arm against my mouse pads now. I don't have very irritable skin, so I've never had to deal with skin irritation when it comes to rougher pads, especially on something like a GameSense Rush, which is what I've been mainly testing this pad on because it is a downfall in the feet, but I'll get into that a bit later. In terms of like how the mouse is built, it is incredible. Zero build quality issues. Obviously, coming from Vaxee, you do not have to worry about this fucking up at all. No creaking, no flex, nothing. An incredibly well-built mouse, and it's very, very impressive. In terms of like side button placement also, it feels really good. I have no issue with where they're placed, and then they're very, very crispy and tactile. Pretty much like the main clicks, no pre-travel, but just a very small, minuscule amount of post-travel, which really is really easy to get used to. I only look for these things during reviews, and I didn't notice it in game, which is really, really good. In terms of the mouse feet that I do want to bring up, these are really thin for stock feet. The glide is incredible if you use something like a smooth, non-textured pad, but something unlike a rougher pad like a GameSense Rush, I did feel a lot of the roughness with the pad, which is really weird because in terms of like rough pads, counting like a Heian, an Odin Eclipse, and then the GameSense Rush, it's like nowhere near as rough as the other two pads, but you can still feel the roughness of it, which is really, really unfortunate. And then the only other thing that holds this mouse back is definitely the cable. It is definitely like the boogeyman of stock cables. It is a really, really shitty experience, but I do know that they're going to improve their cables eventually. I just wish it was a little bit faster because these are the stiffest cables I've ever used, actually. No matter how little I give the cable, it always feels like an extra weight being flopped around. It's just like really aggressive with how much the cable does wobble. In terms of the built-in software, all these buttons at the bottom, very, very simple to use. There's only 4 DPI steps. The middle one is going to control hertz, and the one all the way to the right is going to control debounce time. It's amazing. I actually really like that you can control debounce on the bottom instead of a software or having to plug it in a certain way. It's definitely like cuts out like just a little bit of time. In terms of cost, this one only costs about $65, and the main competitor is going to be an EC3-C, and it's only $5 less. But depending on what things irritate you, that $5 could just be a much better experience with an EC3-C. So in terms of the comparison between the EC3-C and the Outset AX, the biggest things in terms of shape is going to be the slope, because although the slope drop is really fast, I can still get an incredible grip with this mouse. You can see like where it leaves the fingerprints, where I am able to grip it. It actually fills my palm much more than I thought. And because it's a really short mouse, I can get all the way to the top, so I can really, really enjoy those comfort grooves that they did add on the clicks. And I definitely feel that that's where the EC3-C is holding me, because I really, really love Zowie's implementation of comfort grooves. They've always felt really good for me. Things in the S2C, the Z813C, and now the EC3-C have just been incredible in terms of comfort grooves. They feel really good on all of their mice. If you don't care about comfort grooves, I definitely would still say that the Outset AX is way better in terms of clicks, much more tactile, much more crispy, but I again, I just like the comfort grooves, but these clicks are nowhere near as crispy or as tactile as the AX ones are, in my opinion. I didn't talk about the scroll wheel yet. You know, it's not as bad as a Zowie scroll wheel. There's still a lot of noise that does come from it, but the amount of tactility it has is not as good as a Zowie scroll wheel. I'm a big fan of the Zowie scroll wheel now because I just love the ZA13C, and the amount that it has there is kind of like my favorite right now. In terms of like side button comparison, the EC3-C wins hands down. They're really big. They're really easy to get to. They're not as protruded as the AX ones are, and they're nowhere near as tactile, but if you care about the design and how big they are, they're very, very good. In terms of mouse feet, although these are the stock Zowie skates, they actually have I do not feel the texture on my Rush at all compared to my Vaxee one, but the biggest difference is I want to say that the Vaxee feet are a bit faster. Like the initial friction is not as heavy. It's definitely not as heavy feeling as the EC3-C. Build quality on both is obviously going to be phenomenal. You know, you don't really have to worry, except for the ZA13C. You do have to worry about that one, surprisingly. A lot of people had a lot of build quality issues, but in terms of the EC3-C and the AX, you do not have to worry about either one with build quality. And then the cable, the C-Series ones, hands down, is obviously going to be way better than the Vaxee stock cable. This is definitely one of my personal favorites in terms of stock cable experience. It is a bit thick and it is like a little bit difficult. You need to figure out how much give to give the cable, and then it'll feel like a perfect spot for you. But it is just that slight learning curve that I feel is a bit necessary for their cables. In terms of price, this is going to be the biggest deal breaker for a lot of people. So with shipping, this mouse was $12 shipping, so it came out to around $72, as opposed to just ordering it from Zowie, not paying any tax. You don't have to pay any shipping. I got this for $70. That's definitely going to be a big indicator for a lot of people. You will have to pay shipping on the Vaxee site, which is really unfortunate. Where I live is really shit, so no matter what, I'm going to have to pay, like, you know, double-digit shipping, which is fine. I've come to terms with it. If you're a bit closer to California, I'm sure shipping will be cheaper because that is where they ship out from. I definitely feel like Zowie is going to have the monopoly on worldwide shipping. Their shipping is just too damn good at this point. But for me, I definitely want to say that I definitely prefer the EC3-C over my Outset AX, which is really, really weird because I definitely feel like both mice, I get a good grip, but the main thing is the cable, the feet, and then the comfort grooves that really do it for me personally. In terms of a scroll wheel comparison, both of these actually feel around the same because my EC3-C is actually the least tactile and the quietest out of all the C-Series mice that I do own. They feel really, really similar, so I don't really think that there's a big difference there. But yeah, that's pretty much all for the review. Sorry it took so long for me to get one out. I know I have been getting a lot of questions on my Starlight Phantom review. I'm having like a lot of fun with this mouse, but it's definitely a learning curve to get used to the shape for me. It is much smaller than what I had thought. I thought it couldn't get any worse than a MZ1, but clearly it can. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. I do try to answer every single one. I have been, you know, very off with the comment replying because I have been really busy. You know, I have to sign up for school, got to do work, all that other shit. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the review. First review of 2022. Yeah, my next review will either be on my EC3-C or my Starlight Phantom, but I do hope you all have a wonderful day, have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you on the next video. Peace.
Over there. Above you. Oh, yeah. That's tough. Part of the special edition.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give you ammo. I literally have.
I should actually stop. I should probably stop playing the game so actually fix this little fucking bug.